when he claimed this week that Celtic need to respond to the wake-up call from the changing face of Scottish football. Martin O'Neill was preaching to the choir. With the club ill-prepared for the increased competition across the boards this season, the 74-year-old's comment about some serious introspection being required from all concerned in the close season was surely unarguable. Perhaps, though, there's one thing that doesn't need to change at Parkhead. The hierarchy blundered when they ushered O'Neill off the premises to make room for Wilfred Nancy late last year. To not at least ask if he would be willing to go again for one more year would be another act of folly. While Celtic still have much work to do to salvage this campaign, it would already be a write-off were it not for the manager's impact across 2 spells. Of his 18 domestic games in charge, he's overseen 15 wins, 2 draws and just 1 loss. His ability to dig out results against the odds was underscored here and then some. Not for the first time this season, Celtic were seriously underwhelming on the front foot. Yet again, they scraped through. It owed everything to a phenomenal rearguard action and an iron will. O'Neill's ability to prevail when all logic suggests his team should not is, to coin one of his favorite words, remarkable. This, though, was taking matters to extreme. By the end of extra time, the statistics showed Celtic hadn't managed a single shot on target. They got there through 4 expertly taken penalties, while Rangers twice erred from 12 yards. Somehow, they limped into the last 4 of the Scottish Cup. This was another painful day for Danny Roll. Across the past couple of weeks, the Rangers head coach hasn't half made a lot of noise. All those unwarranted remarks pertaining to O'Neill's team selection and strategy in Stuttgart. His spurious claim that Dujon Sterling's handball last Sunday may not have constituted a penalty. The demand that his players screwed down the volume on 7,500 Celtic fans here. Amid the bluff and bluster, though, he did hit one nail firmly on the head. That the need for anyone in his position to win silverware is non-negotiable. Both domestic cups are now gone, as is Europe, while his team are trailing Hearts by 6 points in the league. From a position of promise, the German is now a man under serious scrutiny. His side's mentality is being widely questioned. The fact Roll's men played most of the football in what was truthfully a poor match will be no consolation to those of a light blue persuasion who watched it. If a team don't score in open play, they can't claim to have been part of a hard luck story. For the Celtic fans congregating in the visiting end for the first time since 2018, the team news was not what they were looking for. While Kieran Tierney's absence after picking up a knock at Pittodrie wasn't entirely unforeseen, skipper Callum McGregor's was. There were a couple of curveballs for Rangers fans to digest, too, with John Souttar and Tochi Chukwueze dropped. O'Neill wouldn't have needed McGregor to be on the sidelines for his importance to be made apparent, but the opening 30 minutes underscored the point. Although Luke McCowan did his utmost to compete in the holding role, Celtic lacked that first pass and an individual to set the tempo. Rangers thrived on it. Slackness by McCowan served up an early opening for Youssef Chermati. Last week's 2-goal hero fired wildly over the top. It was to be the story of his day. Mohamed Diomande had been the beneficiary of Chukwueze dropping to the bench. He spent the first half walking a tightrope, however, with an ill-advised scything of Julian Araujo which put him on a yellow card inside 2 minutes. Unsurprisingly, he didn't reappear for the second period. Roll was convinced his side should have had an early penalty when Chermity's shot struck Austin Trusty on the hand, but the American's arm was tucked in. Rangers were well on top in the early exchanges. Playing with energy and aggression, there was an edge to their play which Celtic just didn't have. O'Neill's men lacked someone putting their foot on the ball. They made elementary errors and were crowded out on the rare occasions they crossed the halfway line. On the flanks, Yong Yun Jun and Sebastian Tonekti were bystanders. Deployed as a center forward, Daisen Maeda chased everything down but was starved of meaningful service. The visitors' efforts in the opening spell were best summed up by Araujo putting a throw in straight out of play. Trusty had to be alert to eat up the turf and get a foot in when Ryan Nadiri threatened to gather a percentage ball over the top. Celtic did belatedly find something. 10 minutes from the break, they had the ball in the net, yet to no avail. Having had his initial corner blocked, McCowan delivered at the second attempt. Scales flicked it on. Maeda's diving header crept in at the far post only for a VAR review to show Scales was offside. Roll will still have been miffed that his side hadn't established a lead. Sterling did his best to provide it when he dispossessed Tonekti and advanced down the right. His cross was met by Chermiti. Again, the forward only found the stand. Celtic defender Benjamin Arthur hadn't put a foot wrong until he let a back pass roll under his foot early in the second period. Chermiti looked set to capitalize. Viljami Sinisalo had to be smartly off his line.